Hello everybody. As you can tell from the existence of this video, I did decide to continue doing the 1.0 exploration for all the areas of Elden Ring and the 1.0 disc version of the game. If you did miss the first video, we did discuss pretty much the entirety of Limgrave except for this Weeping Peninsula segment, and a lot of basic stuff that's different from the 1.0 is explained there, so I would recommend watching that first if you want a general look at the differences between the two versions as opposed to the specific area. We also won't be discussing much of basic items being renamed, such as the upgrade materials, the golden runes and stuff. That's also in the first video if you want to watch that and be informed of that. Assuming I finish this series, I will, towards the end, just make a list of all the main items' differences. Maybe just an Excel list or something, to have them all documented. And towards the end of the video, I will also be adding addendums to the previous video, things that I found out later about the Limgrave areas, and also discuss some of the glitches that are still doable in 1.0 that have been patched out in later versions of the game. So let's begin. Something I discussed in the last video that is definitely very present here as well is that the merchants have different stocks. So this is the first one you're likely to encounter. This is the stock that it has compared to the current patch. If you take the Whirlwind Spring next to that merchant specifically, you can get up to this tower where is where you find the turtle shield normally. But in this version it does not exist. So I know that a lot of people like this shield. It doesn't exist in 1.0 unfortunately. It is a stamina recovering shield if I remember correctly. The Oridis Rise is called the Oridis Glintstone Rise in this version, which, you know, I guess it's accurate. These tends to be spell related in some way, so maybe just thought it was a little bit of a mouthful. We'll check in later versions if these is consistent throughout. One of the most noteworthy things I noticed is that the Frenzied Rats' eye color is actually red instead of the orange-yellow that usually depict madness in the post-release version of the game. It does look very scary and cool in its own way, but at the same time as well, the icon for the madness buildup, the status effect, is actually purple instead of orange-yellow. Although the whole madness effect is still orange-yellow. So I don't know what's up with that one. They probably just wanted to change it to make it more consistent overall. Let you know what that this is all the same effect. Probably a good change overall, even though the red eyes is kind of cool in its own way. The yellow ember item, which is also used for frenzy items, is named the Cello Ember, which Cello just means like a yellow pale brown color. Similar enough, I suppose. The Kalu Baptismal Church is called the Kalu Baptismal Font, which upon looking up is a vessel used for baptism ceremonies, so still in theme, I suppose. In a similar note, the Ailing Village, which is the main place we find a lot of this frenzy stuff, is called the Kalu Isolated Village. Now going to the cave towards the center of the map in this area. The boss, the Scaly Misbegotten, is named the Scaly Aberration, which is, whoa. Misbegotten is not a nice word, but geez. The Demi-Human Queen in the forest here still drops same items, but the Crystal Burst spell that she drops is called a Shard Spray instead. And speaking of Demi-Humans, there's one Demi-Human in the bridge here that connects parts of the terrain. In the opener version of the game, there's no Demi-Human in the bridge at all. You just have to go through. Although if you're just running through, it doesn't really matter, does it? You could just go past it. The Weeping Evergaol is called the Lamenting Evergaol in 1.0. Guess it's close enough. The Ambush Shard spell you find near Selen's real body or whatever it is called a Salient Shard, and the design is very slightly different as well. It does look like it's still the same thing, just a little bit more emphasized in the current patch version. In the Isolated Merchant Shack area, I found that this merchant also has different stock as per usual. But the thing that I found more interesting about this is that I actually noticed that the shack is called Ascentic Merchant Shack, which is not the only one that's named this. I looked for another one elsewhere and I found that one's also called that too, so I guess I just want to be a little bit more consistent throughout. Super small change here, but I noticed when you get trapped by the chests that teleport you, you don't really get the dialogue that tells you that it's happening, and also the cloud is a little bit more low-key, I suppose. The little halo swords that they have around the areas, specifically at least this one that I found up here that people say is like a berserker reference, which I don't really understand. But this one at least doesn't have texts. I still need to verify and see if maybe the one in Limgrave near the gate front has it as well. I'll say if so, post editing. But yeah, at 1.0 it just doesn't exist. I guess it's just a prop that maybe they didn't finish quite yet. Maybe they're still figuring out lore and stuff. Now I know this was going to make some of you sad. This chest right here that has the claymore normally doesn't have an item inside. It's just a chest that has nothing inside. So I guess somehow, even though it's a very popular weapon, the claymore doesn't exist at 1.0 for this game. Or maybe it's somewhere else, who knows. This item right here that normally gives you the steel wire torch just has a cracked pot. That's it. They just straight up replace it with a cracked pot. Which I do feel like I've noticed that there's a lot of cracked pots and stuff like that added throughout 1.0. This chest right here normally has a twin blade talisman, but it is replaced by the axe talisman in this version, which if you recall from the last video, the axe talisman is normally found in the post-release version in Mistwood Ruins. So I'm guessing this is a situation where they just kind of flip all the items around. That's around the point during this I turned on the lantern, and I realized that the hue of it is a lot more yellow than it normally is. Or at least more bright. It is kind of yellowish in the normal version, but it is more bright for sure. And finally, as we get to the boss of Castle Morne, the Leonine Misbegotten is now named Leonine Aberration, like the other one. So I'm guessing in this version, all these enemies are just called aberrations for whatever reason. And it'll just change at some later point. Alright, so that's it for Weeping Peninsula that I could find. A lot of major things I thought to look for. But as I mentioned earlier, we do have a couple things I want to discuss besides that. So for Addendums, I did check in the last video if the bell-bearing hunters are a thing, and I couldn't find one in Limgrave, the one in the War Shack, or whatever it's called. And when I was doing that, I thought I was doing something wrong. I wasn't sure if there was more flags for it to appear, besides just making it nighttime and resting or whatever. So I just kind of shrugged it off. But I was informed by one of my commenters in the last video that there is one bell-bearing hunter in Stormvale, up in this rooftop near these two enemies that are normally here. And it appears pretty much just like the bell-bearing hunters. But it's not a boss. It doesn't even drop a bell bearing after you feed it. It's in the daytime as well, so it functions very differently. It seemed like they maybe just wanted to have like an invader feel like the NPC ones, but may decide to do something else with it. And just to verify, I did check another shack where it normally spawns. It's not too far away, and it didn't spawn there either, so I think it's safe to assume that they just don't function the same way in 1.0. Okay, now for the glitches that are doable, you can perform the Pegasus glitch in 1.0 version. It functions pretty much the same. The only thing that's slightly better in this is that you actually don't have to whistle twice after you revive it. You only have to do it once, and you'll call back Torrent. So that means you can do the glitch a little bit faster, have it done faster. The wrong warp still works in the same way that it used to do. They patched a lot of the out of bounds parts of the long warp, but I think it even still works in current patch, like 106. I could be wrong. I know in 104 it still does. I haven't really tried in 106 or whatever, but you have to do like a different area instead of Stormhill Shack. But you can still do a Stormhill Shack version in 1.0. And also the move swap you can do in this. So if you all know, for instance, so you can use the Hand of Melania to kind of jump over gaps. I haven't gotten the Hand of Melania yet. But it does seem like the move swap thingy still works fairly similarly, at least with the Devourer Scepter. And as I mentioned, I did try briefly to do the chainsaw glitch, but it does seem kind of difficult. I know you can do it without macros like a lot of people do, but I don't know if maybe it's easier on keyboard and mouse, for instance. So as I was trying with just controller, I couldn't get it down. Maybe I'll keep trying it at some point, but I don't know. But yeah, that was all for this video. I suspect it's going to be a lot shorter overall. It is a smaller area, I suppose, in the map, but I think it was worth dividing it like that. But either way, I did have fun with this one as well as the other ones, so I'm happy to keep doing these as long as you guys are still interested. I should mention the next few are gonna be a little bit shaky. I'm still unsure if I want to divide, say, the lake part of Liurnia versus the west and east side. And when I get to Caelid, for instance, should I divide Caelid and then the Aeonia heart and then also Dragon's Barrow? I'm not sure about that. They might just have to be longer videos, I suppose. Or I'll decide to divide them. We'll see. But it'll definitely be a lot of more work. So next one's definitely going to be a little longer, I suspect. Both in producing it and also length of the video. Either way though, if anyone has anything that you think I missed from Weeping that you are aware of, or have any suggestions to what to look out for in Liurnia or Caelid, I'm probably going to do Liurnia next. Just let me know. And if I find anything, I will post it in the next video. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. I will see you next time. Bye bye.